me. I feel like, are we, somebody telling us this is not meant to be today? I don't know. Okay. Third time is a charm. And if I'm dropped, I'm like going to take it as a sign.
Okay.
Okay.
So purpose, what does it mean to you? And why are you invested in supporting women finding deeper meaning and purpose?
Chop, chop. Well, first of all, I just want to say that, we work kind of on the same thing, though I think our crowd is slightly different. Like for me, I mainly, but not only, but mainly work with midlife women who are at the point in their life where they've done the caretaking, the maybe child raising, giving so much of themselves to others and other things, and they're really waking up to, who am I now in my life? What do I want now as the person that I am? And how do I want the rest of my life to be and look like? What am I holding back? Where am I not letting myself flow and express freely from who I am now? And I feel like so much holds us back because there's so many fears and self-doubts and self-judgments in like bringing our voices or our needs out, like from where they're buried under the surface. And yet there's a craving and a longing for this kind of freedom of living uncensored and like feeling self-realized. So I say like stepping into deeper purpose, but the question that you just raised is so important, because what is purpose? What is that deeper purpose we're looking to step deeper into?
Yeah.
And so do you want me to kind of share my take on it, or do you want to jump in first?
Well, I will dive in and just say that I think I questioned what purpose was for a long time. And, I remember in my 20s thinking like, what is my purpose? What is my reason for being here? What do I have to do, to give, to be? I didn't really know, I think, what purpose meant, but I knew, like, I felt the urgency to define it. And I think I've been defining it for many, many years. It evolves. But one thing I will say is, I think for me, it feels, and we've talked about this, it feels less about the doing, what you do, and more about who you are being. That eventually we recognize along the way that purpose is interwoven in your being. It is of your being. And so part of what we find along the way is that it's really an unraveling and unveiling of the self, right? Where you really come home to yourself and allow that to be fully expressed. And I think you and I, that's really where our practices intersect, is we're so invested in women feeling fully expressed, whether it's in their work, creative or professional, whether it's in their relationships, whether it's in their life and feeling on purpose in their life, right, for themselves. And so that's what I think about when I think about the word purpose, is that it's not just about what you do, especially just what you do for a living, but it's about who you are, who you know yourself to be, and being that, radiating that, transmitting that, right? Allowing that essence to come fully through, that authentic truth to come fully through. And I know you work on that, like, I've heard you speak about this in your work, where the women are coming and they want to know what that feels like after years of putting, this is how I understand your work, putting others before their own, perhaps more intimate longing for purpose, right? That they've really given their time, their attention, their love, their care. And that's not separate from their purpose. That's just one thread of their purpose, right? And I think we were talking about that. I would love for you to speak a little bit more, that it's not like the job is not the purpose, right?
Right. And you said it so well. So I'm actually just going to kind of say the same as what you said in my own words, that I think there is a misconception when we talk about purpose, like as this external thing that is waiting for me somewhere. And if I can just figure out either what it is or how I get there, And once I get there and I become it, then I'll have this feeling inside where everything feels right, like I've arrived somewhere. And so, I like, so often my clients will have an aim, or like if I just find the new job, or if I just manage to like allow this creativity out and like share it with the world, or if I just figure out like how to take space in my relationship, then I'll feel this feeling. And what they often find along the way, which is like always makes me so happy, is that it's not that thing somewhere over the rainbow that they were supposed to find and get to, that it's really a matter of their own relationship inside themselves with who they are, that is
Yes.
the real change. And so once we realize that the sense of purpose is our own internal relationship with who and how we are and how we operate in our lives, whether we are washing the dishes and cleaning the house, whether we engage in small talk, and whether we are immersed in our work. Purpose can be in everything. It's an embodiment of sorts of the big details of life and the small details of life. And so it ends up being a shift in relationship inside. And
Yeah.
and that is not to say that what we do with our time isn't important. Like it could be that working with clients does give me that sense of purposefulness inside that washing the dishes doesn't, right? But the quality that I bring to my clients, I can bring to everything else that I do. So I want to say that because I want to encourage those out there who don't feel like they have the one thing that they're super passionate about.
Mm.
That often there's a feeling like, oh, what's wrong with me because I don't have this one thing that, if I could only bring out to the world, I'll feel this. Like maybe your path is different, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that there's no purpose in it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the type of culture that we live in, right? Like we're living in a culture that values productivity and performance and like reaching goals and creating, supporting innovative solutions, etc., having powerful conversations around what is purpose and meaning in the world. And I think that's important. But I also, what I feel is maybe a little bit under the radar sometimes is the way purpose arises through who we are being and how we know ourselves to be here, rather than focusing on the doing and creating and the external productivity, that it really begins with an internal quest of who am I, which is what you're speaking to. And really, I think that's the origin of both of our works, because we really started in the body, right? So interesting that you and I began our work with the body,
Mm.
and that really is the container for the work of unveiling purpose. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking also, I think it's a great point to name that, because when the culture, right, when we live in a fish tank or whatever, an environment that overemphasizes what you contribute,
Mm.
but doesn't maybe spend enough time nourishing the wellspring from which it comes, I think we're at a deficit. And that's where I see my work, and why I feel so passionate about this is because what I'm hearing from women who are, my specialization is women who are pioneering in their healing work.
Mm-hmm.
I love, love, love working on that edge, because I just think, creatives and healers, they're really at the pioneering edge of what the future reality will be. I also think activism, yes, absolutely. We all have a role in it, but that's definitely my world, my love. I love that work. And what I find is that what's actually where we are in deficit or where we feel we are lacking is actually in the nourishment of the wellspring of where those innovations come from and where the new ideas, the new directions, where we're headed are coming. And so the work that I've been noticing this year in particular that has drawn my attention is really how we are listening to purpose, how we are listening to the way purpose is guiding, and how purpose shifts with the different phases of your life. So it's so interesting. Also, I will say that we're almost like the inverse, right? Like you, if I may say this, is it okay if I say like we've talked about this before, where your life, right, like you have a family, you have children, your purpose has been nurturing the home, nurturing the family. And in, I don't know how long it's been, but over the last decade or so, right, or longer, you've been cultivating your work. And in the last, I would say 5, 7, 10 years, I've seen you explode in new deep work because you have had this access and opening in your work. And so the purpose has changed, right? It was always there, but the calling shifted with the priorities in your life and how they were organized. For me, it's directly the opposite, right? Like I was like, for the last 20 years, right? Like, what's my purpose? What's my work, looking for purpose in work. And now I'm being challenged to recognize that what my life has designed for me is that my purpose is now much more personal. That like, okay, I got the purpose in the work. I understand that terrain. And now my purpose is, right, or my life is guiding me to find a deeper level of meaning and purpose in who I am in relationship and personal relationship and family and love. So purpose can shape shift. And I think that's why I love it so much, is because your life changes. And when your life changes and you change with it well, you find that like the purpose arises out of the moment. It's not something that you go out there and get. It's something that arises from within. And the most difficult aspects of this is recognizing when the shifts are occurring, how to move well with change.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you, like what comes to me as you speak is this, we talk about the relationship within, but I the word listening comes to mind when I'm hearing you, because when I'm in listening, then I can follow where I'm guided and where life wants to take me. But when I am kind of stuck in this one size fits all idea that something is waiting for me out there and I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
I'm actually not following anything. I'm kind of stuck in this idea of something that is not the reality. And I feel like when I look inside, for those women that feel, oh my God, I feel like there's no purpose to my life. I don't feel like I'm on purpose. I don't feel like I'm living my potential. I feel like you look inside and there's a feeling of dissatisfaction. You know, there's a feeling of dissatisfaction of so what am I trying to say is like, once again, there's a relationship inside that is dissatisfied. So I go into the idea that if I could figure it out somewhere, then I will have this feeling of satisfaction. And I feel like this feeling of dissatisfaction is such an amazing invitation.
Yeah, and I think it would be the indicator, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the indicator that there's more, right? When we're bored, confused, dissatisfied, it's the signal that there is an invitation. And it's hard to honor that inward movement when we live in such a crazy crazy busy world. Like, I think this is what I hear, and I've said it just recently, like just before, is like where I believe we're in deficit is this time to give to the inward listening.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because for each person, the way purpose arises, or the way your reason for being arises, is going to show itself from inside. That doesn't mean you have to cloister yourself away and not interact with anyone, although that does work. I've done it that way, right? As you know, right? That's my comfort zone. But to recognize when you're in relationship with the world, what is actually calling you to greater satisfaction, what brings you fulfillment, what actually brings you fulfillment, is sounds like an easy question to answer. But I think when most people sit with like, what do I really want, they encounter most of the time what they don't believe is possible. So maybe that's time for our, that might be our next topic. But I
Yeah.
just want to say, is there anything more that you want to add, or um, anything else, yeah, you want to add to this before
Yeah.
we end?
As you speak, I have this like popcorn in my head, like, oh, this. But I just want to say that all the answers lie within, if we're willing to listen to them. And it's not what other people are doing, and it's not what, the last fashion is. It's not what we're spoon fed from the world. It's such a deep, intimate relationship with my own self. And only if I can get quiet enough to listen to it will I know. Like, I can't tell you what your purpose is. It's like you have to taste it. You have to know it. And it might be that your purpose is to, as I said to you before, like love your kids fiercely, or express love in the world by just being a good friend or a good partner. It might not be more than that, but it's like listen inside, because it's yours and it's only yours.
Yeah, yeah, I love that so much. I love that so much. Mm.
It's like there's nowhere to run to, and there's, you
Yeah,
know, it's
there's
right here, right now.
exactly, exactly. Mm. Thank you.
Thank you.
This was fun.
All
This is
right.
really fun. So we'll be back next week. We really care about deep conversations around meaning and purpose and clarity and direction and real life
And
and
courage.
courage. Absolutely. And the ways in which we are feeling guided in our lives, in our loves, in our work, in all the ways that we are human and here. So if you would like to join us, we'll be back next Monday,
I
or
think
today we
so.
have a day, but yeah, and we hope to see you again. So thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Bye.